Hi guys, it's Rebecca. So today I'm going to be doing a massive book on haul. So it has been a good couple of months since I have filmed anything or posted anything on my channel. Basically, briefly, the last couple of months have been so busy for me. I made the decision to move from Bristol to Belfast and I've moved back in with my family. Because of that, I've had to get rid of quite a lot of my books. I did get rid of some of the ones I had in Bristol. Now I've come back to Belfast and I've had to get rid of some here. I didn't film anything in Bristol whenever I unhauled those because I just didn't have any time and everything was just a bit chaotic. I do have lots of books that I had here that I just know I'm never going to read or else have already read and I didn't enjoy that much. Let's just get into all of the books because there are quite a few. I think that there's at least 30 books, so let's just go through all of the books. So the first book I'm going to get rid of is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. So I tried to read this quite a few years ago. I think it was about 5 years ago now. I just really didn't enjoy it. It's basically brand new. It's never been read the whole way through, but I just didn't really like it. I think there was a bit where a worm gets stuck in his foot and it made me feel so sick. So I just couldn't continue reading it, but I just decided to get rid of this because I just didn't want to read it. I know it's really short and I definitely could have probably got through it, but I just know I'm never going to try and read this again. It'll just save a bit of space on my shelf just to get rid of it. The next book that I'm going to get rid of is Winger by Andrew Smith. This one is a YA. I read this years ago, like genuinely about 8 years ago. It was quite good. I enjoyed it at the time. I think it's just about this like rugby boy who falls in love with this girl and stuff, and it's just like a typical YA. It was quite fun at the time, but I just know I'm never going to read it again and I don't think any of my family are going to want to read it or anything, so I just thought I might as well just give this away. I try to sell all of these unvented, by the way, but they aren't going quick enough, so I'm just going to give them all to charity. It's just a lot easier and because there's so many, it just gets them out of the way. The next book I'm going to get rid of is Pure by Andrew Miller. This says it won the Costa Book of the Year, but I genuinely don't know what it is and I have no real interest in it. I actually think it was like my sister's book. Literally no interest in it and I don't really want to read it. I'm sorry to anybody if anybody likes this book, but I just have no interest in it, so again I thought I would get rid of this one. The next book that I'm going to unhaul is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I'm unhauling this just because this is the paperback and I do have a hardback. What had happened was I had bought this for my mum to read while I was in Bristol, so I bought it for her to read. Now that I'm back and I have the hardcover as well, I just didn't think that there was any need for me to also have this. We definitely need to clear some space for all of the books that I've brought back with me. I just thought there's no real point in having two copies, so I'll get rid of this. Even though this is genuinely one of my favourite books I had ever read. I loved it at the time whenever I read it. I talked about it all the time on my channel around the time that it came out. I love Hamnet so much, but I just didn't need another copy of it. The next book is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This has never been read, but I just don't really have any interest in reading it. Don't think that it's really my kind of thing. I just know that it's never going to be something I'm going to be excited to read, so I just thought again I'll just get rid of this one. The next book I am going to unhaul is Hard Times by Charles Dickens. I actually did enjoy Hard Times. I read it during my degree, but because during my degree they wanted us to get these specific editions that they thought had better introductions and stuff. This is just one of those Wordsworth classics and now I have another copy of Hard Times, so again it's just like a duplicate copy, so I just didn't think that I needed two copies, so I thought I would get rid of this one because it's not as good of an edition as the other one. So the next book I'm going to unhaul is Pretties by Scott Westerfield. I have Uglies somewhere in these piles, so I'm unhauling that one as well. I don't know where it is, but Uglies and Pretties are the first two books in the Uglies series, which is like a YA series that was one of like the OG series. I think there's like a movie or a series now on Netflix, but at the time it was fine. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't one of my favourite ones and I just know that it's something I'm never going to reread and I'm never going to continue on to the second book or any more in the series. I never loved it. I always thought it was okay and I kept it just in case I ever continued, and then I thought there's no way I'm ever going to continue this considering I literally read it like 10 years ago and never continued on to the second one, so I'm going to get rid of both of these books. So the next books I'm going to unhaul is the first 3 books in the Vampire Academy series. So I have the first one, Vampire Academy, then the next one Frostbite and Shadow Kiss. I think that that's the order. Yeah, I enjoyed these enough at the time whenever I read them. I just don't want to read them again basically, and I don't think that I'm ever gonna have any interest. I didn't feel like they're worth really keeping. I just thought I would get rid of these. These are by Rochelle Mead, by the way, and these were quite a popular like YA vampire series back in the day. I just know I'm never going to read them again. I just thought it clears up quite a lot of shelf space that I could definitely use for new books and the books that I brought back with me. So the next book I have is The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I read this a couple of years ago around the time whenever it came out, and quite a few people were reading it on BookTube. I did enjoy it. I thought it was good. I think I probably gave it around a 4 stars. I remember not really liking the ending and thinking the ending was a bit ridiculous, but overall I did enjoy it. I just know that I'm never going to want to read it again, and I know that there's nobody else in my family that is wanting to read it, so I just thought there's no point in me really holding on to it if I know for sure that I'm never going to read it again. And it's one of those ones that I never really talk about, so I never really need to use it for videos or anything. I'm sure everybody's heard of Lisa Jewell and probably this one as well. It's just like your normal kind of thriller. I just don't need it anymore, so I'm giving it away. The next book that I'm going to unhaul is It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini. I read this ages ago, genuinely about 10 years ago again, maybe longer ago. I thought it was fine at the time. Again, it's just something that I'm never going to read again. Something that I know nobody ever wants to borrow off me, or nobody in my family wants to read it. I never really talk about it either. Just thought I might as well unhaul this one. The actual copy is like a floppy paperback, and I do like it. I like having it for some reason, but I just know that there's no point in me keeping it, so again I'm going to unhaul this one. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of it. The next book that I'm going to get rid of is The Court of Miracles by Kester Grant. This is a really nice edition, which is why I'm kind of surprised that nobody bought it off me on Vinted, but I suppose it's not really like popular anymore. It was for a while whenever it just came out, and that's why I got it, but I tried to read it and it just really wasn't my kind of thing, so I DNF'd it and thought maybe I'll come back to it at a future date, but I just never did, and I just know I'm never going to read it again or try to read it. It is a YA fantasy novel, I believe, just not one that I really particularly want to read anymore, especially because I don't have that much interest in YA fantasy, especially because whenever I tried to read it, I just didn't really like the writing, so I DNF'd, and now I'm gotten to the point where I know for sure I'm never going to want to read this. So yeah, another one that I'm getting rid of. The next book that I am going to unhaul is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This is a really nice like hardback edition. I just know that I'm never going to read it again. It is like kind of sad because it's like the original like exclusive poster cover. I read it at the time and I thought it was okay at the time whenever I read it, and just thought I'm never going to read it again. There's no point in me having it. I might as well just give it to charity, and then maybe somebody else who actually wants it can have this. It is another YA book, but this is a contemporary YA with one character who I remember has OCD, I believe, and it's basically about her relationship with this other boy that she meets. From my memory, it's just not something I'm ever going to want to read again. I thought it was fine at the time. It's not one of my favourite things in the world, so I just didn't feel like I really need to have it on my shelves. The next book that I am going to give away is Little and Lion by Brandy Colbert. This one I really actually enjoyed whenever I read it. I read it during the summer one year, and I remember going out and just like having like my own little picnics and reading on the grass and reading this. I really enjoyed it, but unfortunately I just don't feel like I would ever read it again because I have so many books, like literally so many books I need to make space for. I just don't feel like I need to have this anymore. It is about a girl who her brother has bipolar disorder, and it's about her relationship with him and her trying to help him through that. I just thought it was really good. I think it has won a few awards as well, but I enjoyed it at the time that I read it, but I don't think that I'll ever read it again, unfortunately. The next book that I'm going to unhaul is Geekerella by Ashley Poston. I really enjoyed this at the time whenever it came out in like probably like 2018 or 2019, that kind of booktube era. Oh, I just found a bookmark inside of this. It's an old Fault in the Stars bookmark. I'm definitely going to keep that. It says okay on the back, so I must have had this from like ages ago whenever the film came out, so that's cool. I'm definitely going to keep that. It just fell down the side, I'll get that later. It's a YA contemporary novel. It's about like fan fiction. I think she meets the guy who's going to act one of her favourite characters or something. I really liked it at the time, and I quite like Ashley Poston. I think her writing's quite fun. Never want to read it again because I'd probably find it really cringe, and I just don't feel the need to have it it anymore. So the next book that I'm going to unhaul is Things I Should Have Known by Claire Lazepnik. So this one is about a girl whose older sister has autism, and she thinks that it's a good idea to set her sister up with this boy that she knows, and she thinks that they'd be a good match. That's all that I know about this. That's all I can remember about this. I remember thinking this was okay as well. I don't remember loving this. My sister read this as well and she thought the same thing. I don't think she liked it very much, so it's not something that I really feel like the need to keep. It's a nice hardcover, but I'm not the biggest fan of the actual book, so I don't feel the need to own it anymore. The next book that I'm going to unhaul is Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. I know that so many people love these books, but I literally did a rant review of this book because I just really did not like it one bit at the time that I read it like years ago, and I know for a fact I would think the same thing if I read it again now. Definitely don't need this one. Don't talk about it ever because I really didn't like it. Don't feel the need to have it anymore, and I'm gonna get rid of it, and I'll tag the rant review above and you can go and watch that if you really want. But I really didn't like this, but I know that so many people disagree with me, but unfortunately it just wasn't the book for me. The next book that I am going to give to charity is Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi. So I loved this book at the time that I read it. I really loved it, and I was so excited for the second book. I also have the second book somewhere in the pile. I'm also going to unhaul that. I loved this so much, and it was so popular at the time on BookTube. Everybody was loving it. I was loving it. But then I read the second one and it just really let me down. I remember just not thinking that it was that good. I stopped with the series, and unfortunately because of that it just put me off the whole thing. I mean, I know that I loved this, and I know that it was quite a good book. At least I remember it being a good book. It's just not something I'm ever going to continue reading on with, or anything that I'm going to read again. I'm sure somebody else will definitely want this, but unfortunately I just don't really feel the need to keep it anymore. I just found the second book as well in the pile. It is a really nice hardcover copy. So this one is Children of Virtue and Vengeance, again by Tommy Adeyemi. This one is the second one to the Children of Blood and Bone series. I just really didn't feel like this one was that good, and I was quite let down by it, so that's why I'm not keeping this one. But I hope that somebody else finds it and likes it, because I actually do feel like it is a really nice addition. I just know that there's not really any point in me keeping it, even though I think it's so pretty. The next books that I am going to unhaul are The Darkest Minds and Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. These books were so popular. Again, I feel like there's a theme here, but these books were so popular on BookTube at the time that they were coming out. These were so popular and I loved this one so much, but then whenever I read this one, again, this one really disappointed me, so I never continued on with the series. They're just sitting on my shelves. I'm never going to read them again. They're quite big, so they take up quite a lot of space. These are YA fantasy books. I would recommend them to a YA reader. They're just not for me anymore, so I thought I might as well give them away, and then somebody else who actually wants them can have them. The next book that I'm going to unhaul is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. This book, again, was very popular at one point, but I could just never get into it. I don't know, it just wasn't for me, and I'm not really like a fan of like the World War II kind of time period. I for some reason I can't get like into it for some reason, so I've never really enjoyed reading about that kind of time period. And because this is when that is set, it is in Death's point of view. I'm pretty sure it's in the point of view of Death. I don't know, I just could never get into it. I tried to start it like at least 3 times and I could never get into it. I know that it's just never going to happen. I'm never going to get into this, so I thought I might as well just unhaul it. The next book that I'm going to unhaul is The Eye of Mines by James Dashner. This is maybe even middle grade. I actually have no idea what it is. I think it's like kind of gamer kind of stuff, hacking maybe. I've never read this, but I just don't think that it is something that I would be interested in now, so I just thought I might as well unhaul this one as well. The next one that I am going to unhaul is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. I never actually read this, but my sister read it and she really didn't like it, so it completely put me off, and it just sounded like something that I really wouldn't like. It's also kind of ruined. I think it got like water damaged. I just know I'm never going to read it. I thought I might as well get rid of this. This is like a YA crime thriller novel, just not something that I have ever been interested in, so I thought, again, I'll unhaul this one. The next books that I am pretty sure I'm going to unhaul, but I'm going to check just in case my brother or something wants it. So the next books that I am going to unhaul are ones that I'm kind of sad to unhaul, but I thought I just will get get rid of them anyway because I just don't have any space for them. I am going to see if my brother actually wants these just to check before I actually get rid of them, but I'm pretty sure that I probably will. The books that I'm going to get rid of are Warcross and Wildcard by Marie Lu. I loved Warcross whenever I first read it. It is a YA gaming fantasy book. People like compete in this game where you have to put like kind of glasses on and then like you compete within this game. That's a really bad description, but it's basically what it is, at least what I can remember of it. But I loved this at the time whenever I read it. I thought it was so fun, but I didn't really like the ending, and then therefore I didn't really like how Wildcard went. It just didn't go the way that I wanted it to, so I found it quite disappointing and kind of unnecessary. So yeah, I didn't enjoy it that much. Therefore I thought I'd just unhaul these, even though I love this cover. I think it's so nice. I just kind of wanted to keep it just in general in case I ever wanted to recommend it or talk about it, but I just thought I might as well just get rid of this because in reality I am never gonna read it again. So the next books I'm going to unhaul are Under the Never Sky and Through the Evernight by Veronica Rossi. So these were like YA dystopian books and I never read them. Nobody else in my family ever got around to reading them. Like sometimes my sister would have read some books that if I never got to them, but nobody ever wanted to read these, and I've had them for literally so long, and it's gotten to the point where obviously I'm not really interested in YA dystopian books anymore. I thought that I'll just unhaul them because they're just taking up space and I'm never going to read these. So the next book I have to give away is Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page. I am just not really interested in this anymore. I think it's like a Wizard of Oz retelling but in like a dystopian kind of way. I'm just not really interested anymore because it is YA, and I kept it for years and years and years, like genuinely so long, but in reality I'm just never going to read it. I just didn't think that there was really any point in keeping it. I am going to give this one away as well. I'm pretty sure I did have the second book at some point, but I've genuinely no idea where it went, so if I find that I'll also give that away, but I can't find it anywhere, so at this point I'm just going to be giving this one away. So the next book that I'm going to unhaul is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is the first book in the Lunar Chronicles, and I just never wanted to read this because again it was really popular around that kind of time where all of the booktubers were reading YA fantasy and dystopian, and this one was about Cinderella as like a cyborg, and the idea just always cringed me out and I never got around to reading it. I'm definitely never going to read it, so I thought I'm just going to unhaul it because there's no chance I'm ever going to read this one, to be completely honest. But I know so many people loved it, so I'm sure it actually was good. I don't know why I got it and then thought I don't want that anymore. I got it probably just because everybody else was reading it and then realised what it was about because I probably didn't look, and then thought no, I don't actually want that. I don't know what my thought process was in that. I just know I'm never going to read it, so I'm unhauling it. So the last book that I'm going to unhaul is Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian. So I've had this again for so long, and this is another YA dystopian I'm pretty sure, or YA fantasy, that I'm just not interested anymore, which is sad because I have quite a few books that I just have never read in that pile, which is kind of sad. There are people who will actually want it more than me, so there's not really any point in it just sitting on my shelf. I might as well give it to somebody who actually wants to read it rather than just sitting there unread and literally unused. It's not like I ever talk about it or anything, so definitely not going to get around to reading this one ever. I just decided to unhaul it. So that is all of the books that I'm going to unhaul. I genuinely don't know how many was there, but there was quite a few, so I'm probably going to count them because I'm kind of interested to know how many there was. There's so many books there, but at least now I have actual space to fit in all of the books that I still want and all of the books that I have brought over with me from Bristol. I have so many books to get through. I definitely need to go on a book buying ban and actually start getting through the books that I have here before I buy anything new. It's nice to actually make space for some books even though I still don't have any extra space. At least I've made some space, I suppose, from my existing books. Need to go through those and see which ones of those I actually still want before buying any new ones. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, then please like and subscribe, as I'm going to start posting more videos again now that I'm getting more settled in Belfast and I'm going to have more time to actually film and get videos up. I'm going to be hopefully starting my vlogs up again and doing other videos as well, so if you are interested in that then please do subscribe. As well, if you have read any of these books then please comment below and tell me what you thought of them. Maybe I will change my mind if you thought some of these were really good. But thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.